The Grow My Cleaning Company podcast helps owners of cleaning companies just like you to grow your company and yourself so you can make more money and finally get the time and money freedom that probably got you into this business. Discover how to automate and create systems that allow you to grow like crazy without losing control. If you dig the show and want to show some love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. It really helps. Enjoy the show.
All right, Mike, we are live.
Hey, Cleaning Nation. Good to, I was going to say good to see you, but that's not true. I can't see you. Good to feel your presence, maybe, sort of. Anyway, we are here live, Lindsay and I, as is our custom, every Wednesday at 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern. If you like the vibe and want to join, send an email to support@growmycleaningcompany.com and Lindsay will hook you up. If you have a question, and it's a good question, it'll make the list. Or if you want to join us live, hello, live folks, just join our Facebook group. It's totally free. That's where you get the invites, all that good stuff. If that's it for the boring stuff, Lindsay, do we got some questions that we can dive into?
Yeah, we got some good ones this week. Okay.
Give me the bad ones. I'm feeling a little sleepy. I don't know if I'm ready for good ones. We'll do good ones another week.
Well, first off, I promised Mike Marino from the chat 2 weeks ago that I left off on him and I would start with him the next time you were on. So here we go. Mike says, once you've identified the pain points that you can solve for customers, do you recommend niching down and differentiating yourself based on serving a specific area or serving a specific business type, such as medical?
So really, that's a pretty thoughtful question, Mike. Well worth the wait. I'm going to make it a cliffhanger. I will answer that question, but I forget what I was doing last week. I could not attend. And I heard a rumor that my wife and you just took the whole thing over. How did that go? Was it a mess? Am I even welcome back? Is that how it's going to be going forward? How did that party get lit?
Ooh, I like a cliffhanger. Natalie and I had a lot of fun just saying horrible, terrible things about you. So if you haven't heard it yet, Mike, and those listening out there, definitely go check it out so you can get all the dirt on Mike.
I don't know if it's worse that you guys said the things. I'm kind of okay with that. But recording them, knowing I could listen to it anytime, just like, yeah, we don't care, is like, well, that stings. That's a little worse. If you're listening, baby love of my life, wife, I love you. So whatever crap you said, I'm sorry. I'm not as good of a husband as you are, wife, but you're amazing. See how you do that? You stick it to him the good way. All right. Anything else to add about last week's before we get back to Mike and his excellent question?
We had some great questions about VAs and hiring an admin, and Natalie answered some questions too. It went great. So
cool. All right. Well, if you want answers to that, go to last week's podcast and they will be there for you, waiting and ready. Okay. So Mike, on the niche thing, the funny thing is, or the interesting thing is, once you've identified pain points, it's almost always by industry. So it's not by location. So I say I'm a dentist in my I'm in North Scottsdale. North Scottsdale is a little different than South Phoenix. Like North Scottsdale is kind of rich and fancy and, it's one kind of vibe, and, downtown Phoenix is a different kind of vibe. But I wouldn't identify myself if you're like North Scottsdale, cleaning company. I'd be like, well, that's neither here nor there. Like if I had South Phoenix cleaning company, like I wouldn't, even if it was Toledo, Ohio, I would be like, well, that's weird. They're going to come all the way out here, but it just wouldn't do anything to me. But if I had a dentist office and right next door to me, like in the same business park, there was a mattress store, my pains are going to be wildly different from the mattress store next door. So even though that business is going to be geographically very similar to me, almost how much more similar could you be than next door? The pain points are going to be wildly different. But if there was a dentist in Toledo, Ohio, or downtown Phoenix, the pain points are going to be very, very similar. So the answer to your question is kind of in the question, Mike, in that if you've got their pain points, that's generally going to gather, right? Like I have my client's pain point. And if you're like, not really, it's for everybody, then you don't have good pain. So like superficial pain is, I want the most clean for the least money. That's not really pain. Like for a car dealer owner, he's going to go, I want my customers to stay longer because we know that the longer they're in the dealership, the more that they pay. I know that if I've got a very, very, very clean service bays and everything is spotless, I can charge $20 more per service hour. That is going to mean nothing to a dentist. And his pains about, I don't want to get stuck by whatever medical body's coming to make sure that I'm whatever. And, if people in the waiting room see it's dirty there, they're not going to want me to put my hands in their mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a completely different pain. And that's going to be completely different than a bowling alley, which is going to be completely different than a property manager, which is going to, and we can go on and on and on. So to answer your question succinctly, Mike, if you really have good pain, you're going to notice that they are similar in what they do and not where they are. That makes sense, Lindsay, or was that just a bunch of random words seemingly non-strung together?
Totally made sense to me. And I forgot to add that Mike said he's located in a pretty big city, so he could do either. There's lots of potential customers. So what you're saying makes sense in that context too.
Yeah. And the only time I wouldn't niche is the opposite. If there's a tiny city and it's like, there's 117 businesses total here. And of them, there's 42 buildings that I would even be willing to clean. And then you kind of got to do what you're going to do. But if you're in a larger city, niching is always ideal.
Got it. All right. So our next question is related to niche again, but it's a bit different of a question. I'm going to paraphrase this one. So basically, this person, A Touch of Grace Cleaning and Organizing Services, I believe they're from Down Under. They asked, should they only, basically they're focusing on one type of client, and in servicing this client, they noticed they're attracting another different niche. So should they only focus on one type of niche, or is it okay to kind of bring in that other niche if it dovetails with one?
So first of all, if you're A Touch of Grace Cleaning and Organizing, right off the bat, you're not niching because you're hitting two different type things, right? And the typically woman who wants her house cleaned or organized. Sorry, men, we're kind of pigs. We don't care. Or we'll clean her. I don't know. But it's 90% women. They're going to make this decision if there's a man and a woman in a household. Typically, the woman who is looking for cleaning services has a very different pain than the woman who's looking for organizing services. So even there, I think people, we'll just kind of go top level and then I'll get to Touch of Grace's question. I think people don't understand a niche. They're like, business people or residential, that's my niche. It's like, that's not a niche. That's like saying my niche is business owners. Well, that's not a niche. Cleaning companies are a niche, right? But owners of companies or small businesses, that's not really a niche. So I'd start niching more clearly. B, yeah, it's totally fine to attract people you're not looking for, but you want, and first of all, have data. So if you were a client, I wouldn't even have this conversation like without data, like exactly what's our ad spend by lead source, how many leads, bids, sales are we getting? How many of those leads were this kind versus that kind? So we always want to go with the data. It's human nature is to start with the drama and the story. And well, it felt like this and I got this and we're getting, when you're hearing things like, I got a ton of this kind of, I don't know what that means. Like, and out of how many and how many convert, like you got to have the data because it feels, what happens is the people that are loudest or the crankiest or that for some reason we like the most have an oversized feeling in our heads. Whereas with data, they're all the same, right? So start with the data is kind of the boring answer, but the correct answer. That said, assuming that the data I've got, which is almost none, just that I'm attracting a lot or a bunch, I don't know what the exact verbiage was, is fine as long as they're people that you want to serve, right? So if I'm in Arizona and I'm trying to help high-end homes married with kids and, a certain couple neighborhoods, and a rich guy who's single in a penthouse apartment that's 3,000 square feet, 15 miles away calls me, yeah, that's fine. I'm still going to do that. Now, I'm not going to take a commercial account. I'm not going to take dry cleaning. I'm not going to take dog cleaning. So there's certain things that obviously I'm not going to do. But if it's someone I can serve at a high level and they've got money and they want to give it to me, sure, I'll take that. But if my marketing is attracting the wrong person, I'm going to look at my marketing and go, what am I doing wrong? I'm obviously knowing how to speak to somebody's pain. Is this the person I want? And I might, if I've got marketing that's working, you could switch your niche. Or if you don't like that niche, then switch your marketing. But I would pay attention to it. But no, yes, I would pay attention to the data and perhaps make some changes. But I'm still going to take clients that aren't perfectly in my niche, as long as I can serve them and they're willing to pay and I like them. So that's my super fancy answer. If they have money and I like them and I can help them, sure. Why not?
All right. Got it. So our next question that I'm going to rephrase a little from Jeanette Schill from email.
And by the way, if you're here live, now is when you put in your question to answer it later. If not, all those dirty sons of guns from the email are going to get their answers. And you live people who showed up get nothing but remorse and, bad feelings and regret and probably drug addiction, if I had to guess. So it's downhill from here, guys. Sorry, I figure the more I talk, the less I have to actually answer questions. So I'm just pulling a lot of crap and see what happens. Yeah. Like I can run down this clock and you won't have to make me work. All right, fine, I will work. Give me a question and make it good, lady. Hey, new friend, love that you were here. If you want more Cleaning Nation, more us, you can check us out on YouTube. Similar content, you just get to see each other. It's totally free. Or if you want to say, hey, hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, join our free Facebook group. We love hearing from you, Cleaning Nation. That's what makes it magic. Jump on, we'll see you there.
All right, I'll try to make this good. So I rephrased Jeanette's question. So when you're calculating the charge for cleanings, do you figure in inflation? And if so, how would you do that?
Yeah, it's a really good point. So we have for everything, we have a system and a process. You should have a system and a process, Jeanette. And our system and process is quarterly. We always teach weekly meetings, monthly parties, quarterly reviews. And at those quarterly reviews, we reset our pay for our employees and our bonuses based on what market is in our area at that time. And then I'm going to, and generally that's not going up every quarter. We're in such a high inflation area now, it might be, right? So typically I'm going to check prices when it's not super inflationary once or twice a year, just to make sure everything's good, maybe 3 or 4 times. But if it's hyperinflationary, I'm just going to every quarter when I give my reviews with the new, I'm going to recast my pricing based on the new price. Yes. So short answer, no, I'm not going to do it in advance. Like, here's the price now, but prices might be higher in the future, so I'm going to raise them now. I wouldn't do any of that. I would just be like, here's the price. The only time I would do that is if I was commercial and for some reason they were forcing me into some sort of long-term contract where I had to commit to a price. Well, then of course I'm going to kick it up 5, 10, probably closer to 10% in this economy, percent per year. But if it's just a month-to-month deal or even a year, and again, for residential, there's no need for a year-long contract. So no, I'm not going to preemptively strike with like, oh, I'm going to raise prices now, but I am going to revisit them quarterly to twice a year, depending on how my cost of goods sold are looking. That was a hard question. You're supposed to give me an easy one. That was like math and like paying attention and everything.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I've ever seen inflation mentioned in one of the questions that people have sent in. And it's such a good question because it's just rampant right now. So cheers to that.
Let me give a couple. Yeah, that's a really good point, Lindsay. So I'll give kind of a global, not that this question was answered, but a global perspective on this inflation thing. And we did this a lot during COVID. We, talk people through that. So with this, we've got to make sure. And the cool thing is the systems and processes we teach work all the time in all markets, but there's some nuance where you can make it work better. So this is, like I said, we always have a system. We're doing it quarterly and blah, blah, blah. So you don't really even have to change anything from the systems that we teach. But what I would keep in mind is twofold. One, and sorry, poor Lindsay, the working man or the working lady gets stuck in inflation because the cost of things goes up. And now I'm like, shit, I should get part of my life. I should have gotta give raises. Like stuff's getting expensive. Starting to feel guilty. Lindsay's right here looking me in the eyeballs. I'm literally blaming other people. I'm like, I don't think I've given Lindsay a raise lately. Or no, I think I don't know, whatever. This isn't about Lindsay. The cost of wages goes up faster or slower, almost always than inflation, which sucks. So make sure and that's part of why we coach you doing the quarterly review. So you're not one of those people and you keep up with your employees. The good news is, as an owner, we can fix it, right? Like they do this thing where like, hey, in this city, minimum wage is now $20. And you think McDonald's like, I guess we just won't make any money. They go, all right, well, a Big Mac was $4. Now it's $7. Like, what do you want to do for me? Like, they just raise prices. So as a business owner, as your costs go up, labor and otherwise, you can raise prices anytime and all the time. So you're actually in a better position than if you had a job, because if you have a job, I guess you could switch jobs. You could ask for a rate. Like, it's not like you have no power, but you have less power, right? You've got to be more on it. Whereas with a business owner, we have that ability. Second thing is, the best time to raise prices is during an inflationary cycle because everybody's raising prices. So it's not like people are like, what is this thing? They're like, you're the third vendor this month. It's like, yeah, well, there you go. Talk to your government, tell them to stop printing money if you don't like it. Different topic for a different, I know Lindsay's like, I want to talk about that topic, but we'll be adults and move on. All right. What else we got, girlfriend?
All right.
Lindsay's like, Lindsay wrote it. And Lindsay says, Lindsay wrote it and asking, when am I going to get a raise? Inflation is killing me. I'm like, oh boy, that's kind of on the spot. Not sure how to go with this one.
This podcast just got super awkward. No. All right. This next question, speaking of jobs, I love this question. So this was anonymous. Your email. My first anonymous.
This might be our first anonymous deal. All right.
Yeah,
whoever you are.
So they say my situation, they got to explain their situation. So they have a day job with a great career path. However, they have a commercial cleaning business that they run at night whenever they can. The cleaning business is going really well, and I'm now faced with a decision to leave the day job and go all in on the business. And it just can't be a financial threshold, meaning once I have X amount, then I'll leave my job, because I may not be able to scale the business to X without being all in. Hopefully this is making sense. So how would you think through this decision or inflection point, they ask?
I really, really like that question, frankly, because we get that quite a bit. And I'm going to I was going to bust your chops, anonymous, for being anonymous, but that's such a good question. I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to give what's probably a pretty unsatisfactory answer, but I've done this a lot with people, or at our company, we've helped a lot of people make this transition, and it is very consistent, the results. So the first step is you've got to decide if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a worker bee, right? And I know it seems like I'm kind of slicing pretty thin here in terms of where we're just playing with words. So to make it even more sound like I'm just, being a word Nazi, are you an employee who has a side hustle, or are you an entrepreneur who has a side job, right? You've really got to decide identity. Who am I? And there's no wrong answer. Like, entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs, and we're going to do entrepreneur things. So workers are workers, and one is no better or worse than the other. It's a different proposition, and you got to be pretty clear on who you are and what the opportunity and risks are with each and how you match up with them. So if you're, based on the phrasing of the question, I'm going to assume you're an entrepreneur who has a job, not a worker bee who has a side hustle. You want to be an owner. You are an owner. You're just trying to figure out what's the fastest way to get to be an owner. So there's a couple, and again, I hate doing these questions with not only no data, I don't even have a name, for crying out loud. Make it up, by the way. Call yourself Steve. I won't know. Or just say Steve L. Like, I don't think your employer's out there going, we have a Steve L working for us, this son of a gun. Yeah, whatever. So an entrepreneur is probably going to jump sooner and with more risk. So I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm saying that's what an entrepreneur would do. A worker bee would almost never jump, but it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I can't think of an exception. There may have been one, but in the almost 10 years we've been doing this, I don't recall a single person who, when they went all in, and this is with us, so on your own, results may vary, didn't have a hockey stick growth, right? Because there's this, it's the difference between dating and marriage. Like, I'm kind of in and I'm all in. So because you go all in, it's not even the time, because we can on paper go, well, my job's very flexible and I have exactly 32 hours and it's not that. It's just the passion and the focus. Like, I can just do this. Because if you're a decent human being and you're an employee, you should be giving that owner some time and attention and focus. And a new business takes a lot of time and attention and focus. So for me, what would work, but I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to jump sooner. I'm betting on me, which I'm not saying is the right answer. I'm saying if you're an entrepreneur, you got to bet on you. So it's kind of chicken and the egg. Well, you're an entrepreneur, then jump. And if you're like, I don't want to jump, then you might not be an entrepreneur. So, and I know you're probably looking for a more specific answer, but without having a private conversation, what is your exact revenue? What is your profit? What are your monthly expenses? What do you earn at your job? Like, I just need more data points to really walk you through exactly in your situation. So globally, if you're an entrepreneur, at some point you're going to have to go all in on you. And I'm not, you're like, well, I don't have to be now, and I don't have to go. Yeah, I know. But there's always, for any real business that does anything, there are inflection points. Just looking at the the story of Uber, and how many times that guy almost went to jail. Like, it is, you don't realize how much they risk. You see the back end, like, oh my gosh, I'd like to be that guy. But you see all the risks that was like all in beyond what's even reasonable. So I guess the kind of top level, maybe not most satisfying answer in the world is, if you're an entrepreneur, entrepreneur, baby. The best way to be. And again, huge disclaimer. I don't know your financial situation. Are you a 23-year-old single dude? What do you got to lose? Are you a 47-year-old man with kids in college? Well, that's a different kettle of fish. So I need details. For your specific question, I need details. But generally, if you want to start with identity. If you're an entrepreneur, make decisions from that place. If you're a worker bee, make decisions from that place. Don't judge yourself. Just, you got to know who you are. And do entrepreneurs fail all the time? Yep. So it's like, okay, so if I'm really an entrepreneur and I push all my chips in, I'll be successful. I don't know. Maybe. That's the thing about being an entrepreneur. There's some risk involved. All right. I feel like that was the least satisfying answer I've given in many moons. What are you thinking, Lindsay? Anything to add to that I missed?
I don't think you missed anything on that. I feel like you just gave me like a therapy session. That was so good. Like I really enjoyed that answer on a personal level. So A+.
So coming back to the earlier uncomfortable, after this, Lindsay's like, so I quit. I'm going full time. I'm like, God bless it. I should have never had you on the daggum podcast. Knew I was doing this wrong. Next week, we should do it next week. There's another girl. And we're like, uh-oh, Lindsay's gone.
Nope, I'm here. You guys got to put up with me for a while, Cleaning Nation. All right. Well, chat is super quiet, Mike. Everyone's shy today. That was my last question for you. So I got nothing else for you today.
Hey, we're at 21 minutes in, so we'll call it. All right, guys, gals, if that was helpful and you want more, if you go to growmycleaningcompany.com, over 1,000 of these podcasts only on, you have to be a crazy person, it's that many, how to grow a cleaning company. Again, the Facebook group, I think there's 15, 16, 17,000 owners of cleaning companies in there. All that's free. You can check out my books on Amazon. Those are like $20 or something. But the hub is generally growmycleaningcompany.com. Check it out. Join the group. Look forward to seeing you in the community. See ya. Well, here we are, the end of the podcast, and you made it. Great job. I've got a little bonus for you for sticking through with me. But like I mentioned before, if you got value out of this podcast and you want to show a little love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever the heck you're listening to this thing. Share it with a friend. Share the love. And as a special thank you for those of you that stuck with me to the end, how about I give you my personal phone number so we can text? It's a great way for me to get to know you, your business, your goals personally. So shoot me a text now, 602-932-6431, 602-932-6431. I am the only one who responds to these texts, and I will personally respond to everyone I possibly can as long as this number is manned. Don't know how long we're going to keep this at the end of the podcast, so grab it now, 602-932-6431. Give me a text, say hey, can't wait to meet you.